Typhoon Maria is wreaking havoc along China's east coast after making landfall in Fujian province. One person was killed in Taipei and more than 6 million people have been affected so far. All schools have been shut due to the storm. Maria has been now downgraded to Category 2, which was initially a Category 3 typhoon. The Dalian Forest Zoo in northeast China's Liaoning province held a party to celebrate the 8th birthday of a giant panda named Jinu. The staff members prepared a cake made of vegetables and fruits with fresh bamboo shoots and a little wooden horse as decoration. In addition to celebrating his birth, the keepers had another goal in mind too, namely finding a girlfriend for the handsome giant panda, who is 8 years old now. A brush fire in the hills of Los Angeles has prompted the evacuation of the Griffith Park Observatory. The Griffith Park is a popular tourist attraction in California. The fire has destroyed nearly 25 acres of drought-parched grass in the area. According to the city fire department, 80% fire has been contained and no injuries have been reported due so far. A massive natural gas explosion killed a firefighter and leveled portions of a city block in a southern Wisconsin community. The firefighters are carrying out a second search of buildings damaged in a fatal explosion. There have been no reports of any missing people so far. The Madison Fire Department's heavy urban rescue team is also evacuating the structural integrity of the damaged downtown buildings. One of the 5 buildings that sustained significant damage was owned by the firefighter who was killed in the gas explosion. An immigrant father from Honduras was reunited with his son after being separated near the United States and Mexico border. The father-son duo were reunited in Grand Rapids in Michigan. This comes after a U.S. judge instructed Trump administration to reunite 63 separated children with their parents or face penalties. The Japanese regulators have claimed that Apple may have breached antitrust rules by forcing mobile service providers to sell iPhones at cheap rates and charge higher monthly fee. The Fair Trade Commission said that Apple had entered with Japan's 3 main telecommunication companies to offer subsidies and sell iPhones at a discount. This move has obstructed the companies from formulating their own pricing strategies, thus denying the consumers a fair choice. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has visited flood-hit areas in Japan. The death toll from the West weather disaster in the country in over 3 decades has reached 176. Abe has pledged more than $4 billion towards a flood recovery fund. Torrential rains had unleashed floods and landslides in western Japan last week. Dozens have also been missing since then. The Trump administration has raised the stakes in its trade dispute with China. The U.S. has threatened 10% tariffs on a list of $200 billion worth of Chinese products. Meanwhile, Beijing has expressed shock and has threatened to complain to the World Trade Organization. The Chinese stocks tumbled in the Asian markets and the value of the Chinese yuan has weakened shortly after the U.S.'s announcement of its latest set of tariffs on China. On the second day of NATO summit in Brussels, the leaders have called on all nations to maintain decisive pressure on North Korea to persuade it to give up its nuclear, chemical and biological weapons. The summit declaration signed by the 29 NATO leaders reiterated the alliance's full support for the goal of complete, verifiable and irreversible denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. Earlier on Tuesday, Trump had attacked Germany, accusing it of being captive to Russian interests through over-reliance on its gas exports. The leaders attending the NATO summit in Brussels enjoyed a glass of champagne at a reception hosted by Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel. The The leaders then gathered for a working dinner at the Art and History Museum at the end of the first session of the two-day NATO summit. This after tensions smoldered over US President Donald Trump's remarks at Germany and Western allies. A group of demonstrators gathered near Brussels' Art and History Museum to protest against the military alliance and the military policies. The protesters held white paper planes and chanted slogans against the military alliance in the former military exercise ground in Brussels. The police cordoned the area as demonstrators denounced the alliance and called for the removal of nuclear weapons from Belgium.
This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
At least 20 people, including a leader of Awami National Party, were killed in a suicide attack targeting an election gathering in Pakistan's northwestern Peshawar city. According to bomb disposal squad chief, 8 kilos of TNT explosive was used in the blast. The Pakistani Taliban has claimed responsibility for this attack. A member of a neo-Nazi gang has been sentenced to life for 10 racially motivated murders in Germany. Beat Sharp is the surviving member of the National Socialist Underground Group. She has also been found guilty of the membership and foundation of a terrorist organization. The 5-year-long trial is one of the biggest in post-war German history. Hundreds of people protested in Munich to demand further investigation of the militant organization National Socialist Underground, or the NSU. While the verdict was widely welcomed by victims' families as well as anti-racism campaigners and mainstream political parties, the court's failure to investigate the secretive wider network of people and sympathy towards the National Socialist Underground group's cause drew criticism. Iran has said that it will end special privileges for India if New Delhi replaces Iranian crude oil with supplies from Saudi Arabia and the United States. Iran's comments come days after India was asked by the United States to drastically cut down crude supply from Iran. Iran's Deputy Ambassador Masood Rahagi has said that India was not fulfilling its promise of making investments in expansion of the strategically located Chabahar port in Iran. Scientists in Argentina have discovered the earliest known giant dinosaur in the northwestern part of the country. The latest discovery gives more weight to the theory that giant dinosaurs lived on Earth much earlier than thought. The dinosaur, named Ingentia prima, was up to 33 feet tall and weighed up to 10 tons. It lived about 210 million years ago during the Triassic period. Zaza, who was recently crowned the world's ugliest dog, has died at the age of 9. Zaza owner has said that the 9-year-old English bulldog, whose lolling tongue and crude underbite made her the winner in June, has died in her sleep. Although her final weeks were spent traveling and making television appearances, Zaza has spent over half her life in a puppy mill before she was rescued by a non-profit organization. One of the biggest catches on record, authorities in Australia have caught a saltwater crocodile measuring almost 5 meters in the Catherine River. The crocodile was found just 60 kilometers away from a populated area, and the authorities had been hunting for it since they first spotted it in 2010. Australia is home to over 150,000 crocodiles and is known for its exotic and sometimes dangerous wildlife. Britain's Prince Harry and his wife, the Duchess of Sussex, paid a symbolic visit to Dublin's Croke Park Stadium on their second day in Ireland. The Croke Park Stadium is the scene of a massacre by British troops almost a century ago. Harry and his American wife Meghan also met Irish President Michael Higgins. his wife Sabina, and their 2 large Bernese mountain dogs. The 2-day visit to Dublin is the couple's first trip abroad since their wedding in May. The Israeli army has released a video showing the interception moment of the Syrian drone that penetrated the Israeli airspace. The drone was down near the Sea of Galilee in northern Israel, hours after Syrian drone was shot down in Israeli airspace. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu met Russian President in Moscow for talks on Iran and Syria. More than 40 mothers and their children have crossed over to Israel in the pre-dawn hours of Wednesday for treatment. Syrian children and their mothers have stepped across the tense Golan Heights border in the dead of night under the watchful gaze of Israeli soldiers. The patients are majorly children with chronic health problems who have crossed the frontier for a day's treatment at the hospital in northern Israel. The first visuals of the footballers rescued from a Thai cave are out. The Thai boys can be seen smiling and waving from their hospital beds, looking thin but fine after the ordeal that gripped the world. In another video released by the rescue team, the rescuers can be seen bringing some of the students to safety through the cave. The boys can then be seen being carried away to the hospital as soon as they were brought out of the cave. Another body was recovered in the sunken tourist ship's accident off the coast of Thai island of Phuket. The death toll has now reached 47, but one victim is still trapped underneath the sunken ship due to weather and technical reasons. The Thai military has said that the next step of rescue work will focus on recovering the body and the ship. French President Emmanuel Macron is planning to have a word with Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin during the FIFA World Cup final on Sunday. The match for the champion title will take place in Moscow on Sunday, in which France will be pitted against Croatia. The French president has made an official visit to Russia in May to attend the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. According to the World Bank data, India has become the world's 6th biggest economy, pushing France into 7th place. India's gross domestic product stood at $2.597 trillion at the end of 2017, while France's GDP was $2.582 trillion. But value of India's economy per individual, or India's per capita GDP, is 20 times less than that of France. India, with around 1.34 billion population, is poised to become the world's most populous nation, whereas the French population stands at a meager 67 million. At least 16 nursery and kindergarten children were allegedly kept locked for over 4 hours in the basement of a New Delhi primary school. The school has alleged that the kids' parents had not paid the school fee on time. The claim has been refuted by the parents. A case has been registered under sections of Wrongful Confinement and Juvenile Justice Act. The Indian government has put the onus on the Supreme Court to decide the constitutionality of Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code, which criminalizes homosexuality in the country. The change in the stand of the government, which earlier upheld the gay sex law, came after last year's landmark order of the top court on the right to privacy. India's Supreme Court has slammed the central and the state government for the lack of proper maintenance of Taj Mahal. The apex court has said that either we will shut down the Taj or you demolish or restore it. The strong observations by the top court came during a hearing of a petition that calls for proper maintenance of the Taj. The case would now be heard on a day-to-day basis from July 31st. Cardi B is celebrating the birth of her first child. The 25-year-old rapper welcomed culture Kyrie Cephus during a post on Instagram. The announcement comes 2 weeks after Cardi B is confirmed that she and rapper Offset of the hip-hop group Migos had secretly married in September 2017. This is the fourth child for 26-year-old Offset, whose real name is Kyrie Cephus. Let's now look at the big stories from the world of sport. We start with the result for the second semi-final from the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia, where Croatia have beaten England to reach the final. The Three Lions had taken an early lead through Kieran Trippier's stunning free kick, but Ivan Perisic restored parity for Croatia and take the game to extra time. However, Zlatko Dalic's side completed the turnaround in the 109th minute, with Mario Mandzukic firing home the winner to send the Vatrini into a World Cup final for the first time in World Cup history. With Croatia's stunning 2-1 victory in extra time during the FIFA semi-final match in Russia, the Croatian fans went berserk as they watched it all unfold. The party exploded when Mario Mandzukic found the back of the net with a go-ahead goal in the 109th minute of the contest. The World Cup has been affected by an estimated 300 cases of sexism on the streets of Moscow. The victims include Russian women being harassed by fans and television reporters who had been accosted while broadcasting. FIFA's head of diversity, Federico Adiachi, has said that the penalties were not enough to address violations and a long-term solution was needed.